Hello guys and welcome back to the second lesson of the production lessons. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the more information about your DAW, drums, and a brief introduction to the mixer. So let's get started. Uh, I've mentioned briefly, or I may have skipped it in the first video, but a couple things that I wanted to bring up. In the top right here, you've got your BPM, and that's pretty much how fast or slow each song is. So right now it's at 108 BPM, which is moderately fast. Um, Next thing I wanted to talk, we briefly went through and used the channel rack, but I didn't go into too much detail. The channel rack is where you can place all your sounds that you want. So like you can put your piano in here, you put your uh, kick, your snare. It's where you put your samples if you want to. It's just an easy place to keep them. Um, Next part are patterns. So each of these sounds inside the channel rack get put into a pattern. So in the beginning, if you just have it all playing at once, it'll all go into one pattern. And then let's say we'll just go through this real quick. So we've got a piano, two pianos, synth, some strings, an 808, a bass, uh, a kick, snare, and hi-hat. So all of these will play at the same time since they're all in the same pattern. So those all play at the same time because they're in the same pattern. If you wanted to split them, you can make another pattern like right here, you can make another one. Or you could, inside of here, you can do, if you have all of them in the same one, you could simply go down to split by channel. It's the bottom section. I'm not sure if you can see it. I'm not sure. I don't think my screen recording is working for this part for pop-ups. But towards the bottom, the fourth one from the bottom, there's a split by channel, and that will split all of these tracks into different patterns. So you'll be able to place these separately into your playlist. That brings us to the next part. The playlist is where you put all of your patterns, or you can even put just the audio samples in here. So if you had like an audio sample of like a kick or something, you could just play that in here instead of actually using it in a pattern, and you could just in here. It's pretty much the same thing. It's just a different way of doing it. So in here in the playlist, you can place your patterns and organize it into a song with the structure. So you can have, let's say, the top up here are the bars. So first bar, third bar, fifth bar goes by how many beats. So let's say you have an intro that goes 4 bars. Okay, you can put your pattern down. If your pattern lasts 4 bars, you could just it would fill the whole thing. If it doesn't, you can place it again, so it would repeat. Um, so you can put your intro, then you can structure another. Let's say we had a hook or a verse or something. That could be the next 8 bars after that, and then it goes to a verse or some kind of transition or bridge, and then you could structure that all out sequentially in the playlist, and it will play from left to right. So that covers that part. And we briefly touched on the mixer, which is a yeah, huge part of production. So this is a place where your sounds get routed to before it gets played to your speakers. So right here, we've got this piano. We'll just single this one out. So right now, it sounds like this. And that's routed to this first track. So in this first track, we can put different plugins or effects. So right here, I put a simple EQ on it, and we'll go more in depth with EQ on the next video. But it pretty much the purpose of it is to either remove or boost frequencies that you hear that are played in your sample. The next one I put on was a stereo shaper. Um, this I like it because it spreads the sound out a little bit more into stereo and mono. Stereo and mono, it's pretty much where the sound comes through in your headphones. So mono means it's centered in your headphones. You'll hear it on both your ears, but it won't really sound wide. Stereo means it will sound like it's more surround sound. Um, and then this coacher, that's a transient processor. It makes it so that when the notes hit, they're less The attack, we'll cover that in a later part, is less significant, so it's more of like a simple fluid, each note pressing evenly. And then for the second piano, this is the chords. There's an EQ, stereo shaper, and the coacher that we went through those. There's also a sound goodizer, which is just a plugin that like pretty much does what it says, makes things sound a little bit better. And reverb, which is classic, it makes things. We went over that in the stream. It makes things last for longer, it makes things sound a little bit better as well. On this synth, there is no any plugins, any effects on there because it just sounded good the way it was. We've got the string section that's got an EQ. So right here, I cut the highs and the very lows. So I really only wanted this low, mid, and mid section of the frequencies to play. And we'll talk about this in the next session with layering. So that's how you make your sounds fit together and combine to sound like a full, maybe if you have like an orchestra or something, it's how you layer your basses and your cellos, your violins, and all of the different instruments, how you layer them together so it doesn't sound all messy. So it has like some clean, like it sounds uniform. And there's a fruity limiter. This is just ceiling. It's pretty much making sure that the volume does not go above a certain point. Into the 808, there's EQ on it. I wanted to cut the highs so it sounds more like a bass and more of a sub bass. And some distortion helps bring out some of the frequencies, makes it cut through a little bit better. And then on this one, there's an EQ. This is the sub bass, so I just cut the very low frequencies. We'll get into this with mixing and mastering, but the very low frequencies that are below the audible range, so things below, say, 20 hertz or less, 20 to 30 or less, are unnecessary, and they will mess up the, if you're trying to master your song so that it's a level sound throughout, it will, if you have frequencies in the lower range that are unaudible, it will screw with the way that your compressor will work. So it won't be able to get like even level distribution of the sounds. Then we've got a hi-hat or a kick. This I got rid of the lows, so the higher frequencies make it punch through a bit more. Um, this is the clap. Didn't put anything on there. And we've also got the hi-hat. So if we listen to just a brief section of this, this is how it sounds. Okay, so that's the intro and the beginning of the hook. So in here, we've got our intro for the pianos, and we've also got these samples that we just dragged in. This is from online source. I remade a song. Um, this reverse cymbal, soloed out, it sounds like this. So we can layer, you can see we can layer both. Um, sorry, I selected all of them. We can layer both the patterns that we have and different audio clips that we put into this playlist. Okay, and then we can also, if we listen to the, let's just play it from the beginning. We'll listen to just the piano. So just this melody part. If we were to play it without effects, it would sound like this. So a bit of a difference. This button right here just enables all the effects that you can play through this mixer track. So again, we went through the EQ, the stereo shaper, and the coacher. On the master, we'll get more into this with the in a later video for mixing and mastering. But there's some EQs, cut off some of the very lows, some of the very highs, boosted some of the frequencies that I thought sounded good. It's all the ones that you sound good to you are mostly relative. So if you want to have more mids, or more lows in your song, you simply just boost those frequencies. Limiter, make sure it didn't peak over the uh, 12 or negative 12 LUFS, I think it's what it was. And then ozone elements, that's help. It's pretty much just a easy mastering plugin that helps you master it really quickly. And then a loudness meter to make sure that it is suitable for, or what it loudness meter helps you keep track of the volume that it is. So certain streaming platforms like YouTube or Spotify will adjust, they use their own algorithms to adjust the volumes of your songs. So using this, we can kind of predict it or change the output of our song so that these platforms won't change it to a significant degree, so that it'll sound as close as we hear it here as it will to someone listening over that platform. So that is this week. Next week we'll go into structuring songs, EQing, and layering sounds. So how we use these EQs that we use in these mixers and the mixer. And I hope you found this information helpful. I'll see you guys this weekend.